right now at a fairly early stage. So some of these things are more learnings than what will potentially actually happen. So I've been in the space for almost 10, 11 years now, between education, governance, and so on. And one of the learnings that's the topic of today is how do we support the 1 crore teachers that are out there in India. And I say 1 crore conservatively, that's the Government of India UDICE portal. I think it's probably a little bit more if you consider all the tuition teachers and the part-time teachers and so on. So we're speaking K-12 essentially. So there, when I started out on this, I just had 3 things in my mind going on. Those are the 3 things that you see there, that the design needs to be thoughtful. I think about collective action, and I think of technology as an enabler. Just these were the 3 broad ideas. And then I visited a lot of schools, interacted with the teachers. This is North, East, West, South, urban India, rural India, high income private school, Shiv Nadars of the world, DPSs of the world, majority of the affordable private schools, government school. Even in government school, there is a difference between what a Kendriya Vidyalaya does and what a state government school does. So we visited a lot of schools, spoke to all the teachers out there. We tried various ways of doing this conversation. One was obviously a one-on-one conversation. Second was looking at what are they doing on WhatsApp, on YouTube, on Instagrams of the world, observing how they interact with each other. So we would do paired interviews of bring a teacher who is your best friend, and we would have a conversation with them and understand how they talk to each other. Then the other paired interview that we did was bring a teacher who you look up to, who you learn from, and have a conversation with them. Then we sat in the staff rooms, the real physical staff rooms, and observed who comes in, who goes out, who's talking to each other, and so on. So this was just our way of getting into understanding what the teacher does. So let me now go back to what's been the learning on how AI has come about in what I'm building now. So this is how I am seeing the world sort of evolve. Integrated circuits, this is the IC, one of the images, made computation freely accessible, right? All our calculators, this remote, the TV and so on has ICs on it. That made computation almost accessible, right? Then came internet, which made information accessible, and it continues to give, like Sujit was talking about, right? And what did we do with it? We built Amazons of the world, we built Namayatri, we continue to build DPIs and so on. And now we are seeing all of this AI coming into place where intelligence is becoming accessible, right? And what do we do with it? Obviously, internet age is still not over. That is continuing to expand. There's a lot more to be done there, and we now suddenly have this. And that's how I see the trajectory. For me personally, at least, this was exactly, I'm now 33. Around the same time, I remember my parents growing up, they started seeing internet coming into their job. So how they were feeling then, I am feeling now. Of something new has come up, and I have to figure out in my quarter life crisis on what do I do with this AI thing, right? So that's how I'm at least personally looking at it. In India, at least, the internet penetration has been increasing because of the pandemic and the geo effect. This is fairly clear, well understood, all of that. And this has made the teachers come online as well. Before the pandemic, majority of the teachers were not online. After the pandemic, almost all the teachers are online. And this is a bit anecdotal from my side based on all the visit, but the data is also that. A lot of teachers, and I'll show you what they're doing online as well, my observation, right? And this is the split of what the new users are using. The highest happens to be the YouTubes and WhatsApps of the world. YouTube is one app that every teacher in the country is using. The one single app that every phone has is YouTube, the highest, right? Obviously there's WhatsApp, but WhatsApp is a different category of its own. But YouTube is the highest, right? And then obviously you have the remaining things. What are some of the teachers doing? One, they're on Facebook. They have a bunch of groups for different purposes, right? This is just some of the snapshots of the groups that they allowed me to enter. There are more than what is there, right? Some of them are also on WhatsApp and Facebook, right? Telegram, right? This is a snapshot of Telegram. WhatsApp groups is fairly difficult to penetrate. If any of you have tried to get into it, it's not as easy as getting into Telegram groups, right? So these are While I know what WhatsApp groups are there, I've not been able to get into it, so I don't know what is happening. Telegram, I can fairly see, right? There's a difference on how they're using it. Not everybody is looking at education. Think about teachers as an independent profession of their own. Right? For us, driving missions and trying to achieve student learning outcomes or XYZ, for us, this is probably a 5-year mission, 7-year mission, 8-year mission, Nipun Bharat, how long will it go on, right? But for a teacher, they're in that career for 30, 40 years, right? They are looking at that career. How do I build my profession? What are the things around me that's happening, right? So some of the things that they're doing. This is an example of the chemistry teachers in Gujarat coming together to figure out things related to chemistry only and in Gujarati medium. Who's building for it? Right? They're figuring out things out on their own. And the kind of conversations that they have, I don't understand Gujarati text. So what I do is copy the text, put it on some translate, see what's happening. But that's an interesting thing that's happening there. A different thing, the associations, the teacher unions are coming online. So how do you get teachers to join unions, right? They are online, they're discussing what is the latest government order, how do we come together, share our voices with the government and so on. And funnily enough, they're also using it for matrimony. Right? Teachers are actually a sought after community for marriage. There are some patriarchal reasons as well of why that happens, but there is also a government job reason why it happens. Right? We never think of teachers like this. There was an interesting report that I also ended up reading, more US, but still I thought relevant for India, is there's also a moral burden that teachers take on themselves. Think about your own teacher. If you find them today in a restaurant on a date, right? This is not how we think. The teacher actually takes a moral burden of this. They want to be a certain way. They have to come across a certain way to their the kids, their peers, the parents, the society, and so on, and they're trying to live that life. So with all of this in mind, I started off, and I was in this whole AI journey as well. So a bunch of friends, we got together, we piloted something which is an AI tool after all of these interviews. What are the regular, everyday things that teachers are doing? And we use, this is also a web app, and there was also a WhatsApp thing. From last September, we have been doing that, looking for teaching resources, looking for worksheets, looking for administrative tasks. There is one more which is not mentioned here, which is classroom activity. That was the highest used. I'm trying to teach Life of Plants grade 5 Hindi. Give me a quick activity, right? It's a cognitive burden. Right? If you think about it, for some of you who have been teachers, coming back home, then thinking about 8 periods the next day, making a list of things. Median age of teachers in India is 38, which means they are married, they have kids, most of them have aging parents. So after they go back home, they're not thinking about school, right? But we saw this being used. As of right now, about 40,000 teachers have used this. Every week, we see about 1,000 of them continuing to use it. And daily, we have about 200. So what we have also learned is daily, this is not a use case. Weekly, this is a use case. Right? Nobody is coming every single day and trying and saying, oh, this activity, that activity. Every week, though, they're constantly coming back. And there's also a WhatsApp version of it, like I was saying. Now that this is built, what we are looking at is 2 dimensions. One is, how do you get this to every teacher? Is YouTube. And that's where the podcast comes in. And that's a journey of its own. When we started out, I thought, okay, this is a common thing. We have the tool, we'll have this YouTube, and suddenly people will pick up. What we are learning is content is a game of its own. We have to constantly think, okay, what's the next reel to put out, what comments to put out, who's the speaker, what conversation to happen, and so on. And there's a niche that one needs to build there as well. And the idea of the content piece here is to have teachers talk to other teachers. This is the content niche that we figured out is not there on YouTube. There's a lot of experts and educators talking about how to teach X, how to do Y. We are bringing in all the National Teacher Award winners who have been teaching for 20 years, 30 years, talk about how did they achieve success. And the conversation, if some of you have watched it, is not fully about teaching alone. It is also about teaching, but it's also about how do you build a career? How do you do research as a teacher, right? How do you manage parents as a teacher? How do you manage finances as a teacher? How do you shift jobs as a teacher? It's not very easy, right? So it's a holistic conversation. So this is a content game to create more distribution. And now we are at a phase where we are happy if some of you are open. We would love to start having all the content that is out there that has been getting generated, used, tested, researched, implemented by the community to put it on staff room as well so that the teachers can use it. And that's where I'll stop my conversation. If I have some time, we can take questions later or now. How do you want to do it? Right? Maybe we can take 2 questions if any of you have. Oh, well, let me share one other interesting insight. When do you think that bot was used the highest? What time during the day? Lunch break? Sorry? Evening? 9? 11 a.m. It's just when the assembly ends and I have to get into class. Yeah. 2 questions. If not, then I'll close. No? Okay. No, at least from the staff room point of view, I am restricted to looking at teachers as the end consumers in themselves. What teachers do beyond for kids and parents and so on is where I would love for the community to come together and put up their content, their resources, whatever they want on staff room. But for me to build the platform, teacher is the end in itself.
And while you are introducing teacher assistant, regarding assessments and activities, so are these government schools and you have taken
both?
Okay.
That's another interesting thing that I came across. A lot of solutions are currently in the government sector. If you look at the split in number of teachers in government and private, it's exactly 50-50. Okay. 50% of our teachers are teaching in private schools. 50% of our kids are in private schools. But majority of the solutions are in the government sector.
And how much open government is about AI assistants?
Governments are very open.
Very open. Okay.
Thank you. It's a different skill altogether on how do you work with government and so on and so forth. But I don't think there's that big a closure of we'll not do this and so on.
I just wanted to understand the language of communication. Is it vernacular, English, or any specific state?
So right now I am fairly a very small team with no money. So right now it's only English. But in most of this teaching community, it's vernacular. Again, you have to see the split. The way I'm looking at it, the split is also of how the startup is also evolving. All the so-called apps for Bharat is vernacular because that's the population, that's the language that they interact with. And this is also the same thing. So eventually I will have to do Hindi, English, Kannada, Telugu, all of that. But right now it's English.
So the national teachers whom you are able to think they are mostly from the south?
Across the board. So for the season 1, which has 5 episodes, 3rd of which went out yesterday, we have covered 14 different states, including Andaman and Nicobar. Okay. Yes. Please tell me if time is over. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, I get that you just started this. It's very super. What are you planning to do next with this? Like, what's your plan to scale this up?
Well, hopefully YouTube will take me to all the teachers, but figuring it out. Like I said, I think one thing that will help is YouTube content as an independent thing. So having more interesting teacher-specific content. Next week, in fact, we are doing a long meeting with one of the B.Ed colleges and a school chain to figure out what is the set of content that is not available right now. For example, a lot of teachers follow Ankur Wariku. I don't know how many of you follow him. Guess why? Finance. Your salary as a teacher is less than 50,000, but your aspiration is very high because you're meeting kids of a different aspiration. right? So a lot of them are following Ankur Warikoo for those kind of things. So this is not a content. So like this, there'll be multiple such content. Another problem statement that constantly we keep hearing from the private sector is staff room politics. It's fairly, I don't know how it works, but it is a challenge that a lot of teachers face day in and day out, and they're constantly thinking about it. So there is that independent way of looking at content as a distribution channel. The second is, of course, on the web app and the WhatsApp itself now. The plan is to start getting partners from the ecosystem to start leveraging it and using it as their own distribution channel. So hopefully that then will scale.